The phone rang, shattering the quiet of my office. I glanced at the screen, and my stomach tightened. It was my mother. I hesitated for a moment before answering, already sensing that this wasn't going to be a casual chat. "Sophie, honey, I need to talk to you." Her voice came through, strained and urgent. I could hear the familiar undertone of guilt tripping, the one she always used when she wanted something from me. "What's going on, Mom?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the New York skyline, the city bustling below me. "It's your sister, Lily," she began, and I felt a knot form in my stomach. "She's going through a really tough time right now. After everything that happened with her divorce. She's been struggling, Sophie. She needs a fresh start." I closed my eyes, already knowing where this was going. "And?" I prompted, though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. "Well, your father and I thought it would be a good idea if she stayed in your apartment in Boston for a while. Just until she gets back on her feet." I sat up straight, my grip tightening on the phone. "My apartment? The one I've been renovating to rent out?" "That apartment." "Yes, that one," my mother replied, her voice softening. "Sophie, you're doing so well in New York. You don't even use that place anymore. And Lily, she's family. Family helps family." I let out a long breath, counting to 10 in my head. At 31, I had worked my way up in the finance world, saving every penny to invest in real estate. The Boston apartment was my first major investment, a property I had carefully renovated with the intention of renting it out at market value. And now, without even consulting me, my parents had decided to let Lily move in rent-free. "How long has she been there?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Just a few days," my mother said quickly. "She moved in last weekend. Your father gave her the spare key." "The spare key?" I repeated, my voice rising slightly. "The one I gave you for emergencies?" "Well, this is an emergency, Sophie," my mother said, her tone defensive. "Lily needed a place to stay, and we thought you'd understand." I bit my lip, trying to keep my frustration in check. "Mom, that's my property. I bought it with my own money. You can't just give it away without asking me." "We're not giving it away," my mother said, her voice pleading now. "She's just staying there for a little while, until she gets back on her feet. You know how hard it's been for her since the divorce. She's lost everything, Sophie. Everything." I closed my eyes, trying to process what she was saying. Lily had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Even when she blew through her trust fund on one failed venture after another, her art gallery, her yoga studio, her organic skincare line, they always bailed her out. And now, once again, they were expecting me to pick up the pieces. "Mom, she can't just move into my apartment without my permission," I said, my voice firm. "That's not how this works." "Sophie, please," my mother interrupted, her voice breaking. "Can't you just help your sister this once? She's family." I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I had seen this coming for months, ever since Lily's divorce. I had watched her fall back on our parents' generosity time and time again, always landing on her feet through family bailouts. And now, once again, they were turning to me, expecting me to be the responsible one, the one who would fix everything. "You're right, Mom," I said finally, my voice calm. "She is family." "Oh, sweetheart, I knew you'd understand," my mother said, relief flooding her voice. "You've always been the sensible one." I murmured a non-committal response, already opening my laptop and pulling up my banking records. "I have to go now, Mom. Client meeting." After hanging up, I sat back in my chair, a small smile playing on my lips. What my family didn't know was that I had been preparing for something like this for months. Ever since Lily's divorce, I had watched her pattern of relying on family bailouts, and I had seen the way my parents' eyes turned to my success, my stability, my assets. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out a thick folder labeled Boston Property. Inside were documents I had prepared with my lawyer 6 months ago, legal notices, property regulations, and, most importantly, the paperwork for the apartment's new status as part of my corporate holdings. The apartment wasn't just in my name anymore. It was now owned by my LLC, with strict legal protocols for occupancy and use. Any unauthorized residence could be considered trespassing under corporate property laws. I had set it up this way specifically to protect against family emergencies. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Thanks for letting me crash at your place, sis. You're the best. By the way, do you mind if I redo the kitchen cabinets? The current ones are so outdated." I didn't respond. Instead, I picked up my office phone and dialed my lawyer's number. "Sarah, it's Sophie," I said when she answered. "Remember that scenario we planned for with the Boston property? It's happening. Exactly as we predicted. Can you start the process?" Over the next hour, I reviewed the documents with Sarah, my lawyer, setting everything in motion. The property management company would be notified, formal notices would be prepared, and the corporate oversight protocols would be activated. Every detail was meticulously planned, every potential loophole closed. I had been preparing for this moment for months, and now it was time to put the plan into action. "What about your parents?" Sarah asked during our call. Her voice was calm, professional, but I could hear the underlying concern. "They're not going to be happy when they realize what's happening." "They're not going to know until it's too late," I replied, my voice steady. "Besides, they gave up any right to an opinion when they handed out my spare key without permission." I could almost hear Sarah's nod through the phone. She had been my lawyer for years, and she knew my family dynamics all too well. She had seen how my parents always favored Lily, how they expected me to be the responsible one, the one who would fix everything. And now, once again, they were turning to me, expecting me to bail Lily out of yet another mess. "And Lily?" Sarah asked. "What do you expect her reaction to be?" I thought about my sister for a moment. Lily had always been the free spirit, the one who floated through life on a cloud of our parents' money and goodwill. She had never faced real consequences for her actions, never had to take responsibility for her mistakes. This would be a first for her. "I expect her to be shocked," I said finally. "Maybe even angry. But she'll learn. They all will." Sarah was silent for a moment. Then she sighed. "All right, Sophie. I'll start the process. But just remember, this is going to get messy. Family stuff always does." "I know," I said, my voice firm. "But it's time they learned that my success doesn't make me their personal safety net." After hanging up, I sat back in my chair, staring at the thick folder labeled Boston Property on my desk. Inside were all the documents I had prepared with Sarah 6 months ago, legal notices, property regulations, and, most importantly, the paperwork for the apartment's new status as part of my corporate holdings. The apartment wasn't just in my name anymore. It was now owned by my LLC, with strict legal protocols for occupancy and use. Any unauthorized residence could be considered trespassing under corporate property laws. I had set it up this way specifically to protect against family emergencies. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Thanks for letting me crash at your place, sis. You're the best. By the way, do you mind if I redo the kitchen cabinets? The current ones are so outdated." I didn't respond. Instead, I picked up my office phone and dialed Sarah's number again. "Sarah, it's Sophie," I said when she answered. "Remember that scenario we planned for with the Boston property? It's happening. Exactly as we predicted. Can you start the process?" "Consider it done," Sarah replied. "I'll notify the property management company and have the formal notices prepared. We'll be ready to move as soon as you give the word." "Good," I said, a small smile playing on my lips. "Let's give it 6 months. Long enough for them to think they've gotten away with it. Long enough for Lily to really settle in. Long enough for everyone to forget whose property it really is." "And then?" Sarah asked. "And then," I said, my voice calm but firm, "we remind them exactly why you don't take what isn't yours, even if you're family." The next few weeks passed in a blur. I watched from afar as Lily documented her new life on social media. There she was, posting photos of the vintage chandelier she had installed in the dining room, without permission. There were the Instagram stories about her fresh start and how sometimes the universe just provides. Every image, every post, every modification to my property was carefully saved and documented. My parents called regularly, always dancing around the subject of the apartment, praising Lily's initiative in fixing up the place. They never once mentioned rent, utilities, or the fact that they had essentially given away my property without my consent. Lily's doing so much better now, my mother gushed during one call. She's really finding herself, and it's all thanks to you, honey. You're such a good sister. I made non-committal noises while adding another set of unauthorized renovation photos to my documentation file. The folder was getting thick with evidence that would become very important in exactly 5 months and 3 weeks. Though, my mother added hesitantly, she was wondering if you might consider putting the utilities in her name, just to help her establish some credit after the divorce. And maybe, well, she was thinking about getting a dog. The building does allow pets, right? I muted my phone for a moment to laugh quietly. Actually, Mom, I need to run. Big meeting. We can talk about this later. That evening, I received an email from my property management company confirming they had documented all changes to the property since Lily's unauthorized occupancy began. Every modification, every violation of the corporate property agreements, all meticulously recorded and dated. My phone buzzed with another text from Lily. Hey sis, quick question. Is it okay if I list one of the spare rooms on Airbnb? Just to bring in a little extra cash while I'm job hunting. I added the text to my documentation file and checked my calendar. 5 months and 2 weeks to go. This wasn't just about the property anymore. This was about boundaries, respect, and teaching my family that my success didn't make me their personal safety net. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for family is let them face the consequences of their actions. And in 5 months and 2 weeks, there would be consequences indeed. 5 months into Lily's fresh start, my property management company sent me their final report. The document detailed everything: unauthorized renovations totaling over $25,000, multiple building code violations from her amateur improvements, and, most importantly, evidence of the illegal Airbnb operation she had been running for my spare rooms. I sat in my office, reviewing the photos and documentation. Lily had completely transformed my carefully renovated investment property into what she called her bohemian dream space. The elegant gray walls were now splashed with garish colors. The high-end appliances I had installed had been replaced with cheaper models. She had sold the originals online, according to her social media, and the carefully maintained hardwood floors were now covered in what she termed artistic epoxy designs. My phone buzzed with yet another text from her. Sophie, you'll never believe how amazing the house looks now. I'm thinking of starting a home renovation blog. Maybe this could be my new career. I added the message to my documentation file and checked the calendar. 2 weeks until the corporate audit I had scheduled. 2 weeks until my family learned exactly what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. Are you sure about this timing? Sarah asked during our final review meeting. Your sister's birthday party is the day after the audit notices go out. I smiled, remembering the invitation I had received. Lily was planning a huge housewarming/birthday celebration at my property, of course. She had already invited 50 people and hired caterers, all funded by our parents. The timing is perfect, I replied. Let them celebrate. It'll make the notices more impactful. The day before the audit, my mother called. Sophie, honey, you're coming to Lily's party tomorrow, right? She's put so much work into the apartment. Everyone's dying to see what she's done with the place. Actually, Mom, I have some business in Boston tomorrow, I said. I'll stop by. Oh, wonderful, my mother exclaimed. Lily will be so happy. She keeps saying she wishes you were around more to see how she's transformed your old investment property into a real home. My old investment property, I thought, as if I had abandoned it and Lily was doing me a favor by claiming it. By the way, my mother added, your father and I have been thinking, since Lily's done so much to improve the place, maybe we should discuss transferring the deed to her. You're doing so well in New York, and this would really help her establish herself. I gripped my phone tighter. We can discuss everything tomorrow. That night, I boarded a flight to Boston. In my briefcase were multiple copies of the corporate audit findings, legal notices, and documentation of every unauthorized change and violation. I also brought the police reports from neighbors complaining about Lily's Airbnb guests, along with proof of her online income from renting out rooms in a property she didn't own. The morning of Lily's party, I arrived at the apartment early for the official corporate inspection. The property management team and my lawyer were already there, along with a licensed contractor to assess the unpermitted renovations. The building code violations alone, the contractor whistled, reviewing the changes. The electrical work in the kitchen isn't up to code, the epoxy floors weren't properly sealed, and don't get me started on the load-bearing walls she removed to open up the space. I documented everything, then checked my watch. 3 hours until the party. Right on cue, my phone buzzed with a message from Lily. "Where are you? The caterers are here, and I need help setting up. By the way, wait until you see what I did with your old home office. It's a meditation room now, complete with a water feature." I forwarded the message to my lawyer, who added it to our file. "The notices are ready," she confirmed. "Would you like us to serve them during or after the party?" I thought about my mother's casual suggestion of transferring the deed, about Lily's entitled alterations to my property, about 6 months of watching them take advantage of my success. I decided. Let them celebrate first. Let them really showcase everything they've done to my property. Then we'll show them exactly who owns this apartment, and it's not just me anymore. The guests started arriving at 4 o'clock. I watched from my car as Lily welcomed everyone, playing the role of proud homeowner. Through the windows, I could see my parents beaming as she gave tours, probably bragging about all her improvements. At exactly 5:30, as the party was in full swing, my property management team arrived with the official notices. I stepped out of my car, straightened my jacket, and walked toward the apartment I had bought with years of hard work and careful planning. Time to remind my family that sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones you thought would be free. "Sophie," Lily squealed as I walked in, rushing to hug me. "You're finally here. Isn't the apartment amazing? I've done so much with it." Behind her, I saw my parents' faces light up. They hadn't noticed the team of people following me in, clipboards and documents in hand. "Yes," I said calmly. "Let's talk about exactly what you've done with my property." The room grew quiet as my lawyer stepped forward, notices in hand. Lily's champagne glass rose halfway to her lips as she finally registered the official-looking documents being placed on her coffee table. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about standing your ground and letting others face the consequences of their actions. And as I watched realization dawn on my family's faces, I knew this was just the beginning.